It is the day we have chosen to set aside in celebration of our mothers, an occasion where we appreciate our mothers for the difficult, often thankless things that they do, a very, very important job that they do. Mothers are often the family center for providing comfort, stability, and encouragement for the children through their growing years and even into their adult years. Diane has figured that out, that mother never quits being a mother. But we'll get into that. Is it any wonder that God tells us in the 5th of the 10 Commandments to honor our mothers? And something that no one denies, that is a godly thing for us to do. Our mothers deserve to have our honor bestowed upon them this day and every day for washing dirty faces, feeding hungry mouths, nurturing and caring for sick babies, wiping leaky noses, patching up bloody knees, kissing wounds better, changing bedding in the middle of the night because, well, you know what happens there, skipping or having interrupted showers because moms are just needed, driving children to school, picking them up, taking them home again, never going to the bathroom without a child needing something. I'm sure you've experienced that, mothers. Proudly watching them perform musicals and sports events and without falling asleep because they've had lack of sleep, holding all things their children ask them to hold on to them while they're doing these things. All of this performed admirably while suffering from sleep deprivation. A day of appreciation for them encouraging the children to finish or accomplish something that they didn't believe they could do. And for not believing them or not taking it personal when their disgruntled child's actions and words say that they hate you and don't want to be with you anymore. Because you know in a few minutes that's going to change, all of that. Motherhood is about concern for the children, wondering if promising and giving your child something they really want, if they behave themselves, is bribing your child or rewarding your child for good behavior. Motherhood is getting rowdy children to settle down by tricking them into playing quiet games. It had to be a mother that thought that one up. It has been said that a mother talking to an old college friend once said, "Before I was married, I had 3 theories about raising children. Now I have 3 children and no theories." And I think that's the way it kind of goes. So thank you, mothers, as we strive to encourage and appreciate you today. And I pray that we do that every day. And we're going to do that today in particular here by looking at some of the mothers in the Bible and showing our appreciation for you. You know, mothers are really important. Would you agree? Absolutely. They're important. Irma Bombeck once wrote, "For the first 4 or 5 years after I had children, I considered motherhood a temporary condition rather than a calling. It was a time of my life set aside for exhaustion and long hours. It would soon pass. Then one afternoon, with 3 kids in tow, I came out of a supermarket pushing a cart that had 4 wheels going in all different directions." And you guys have had those shopping carts, right? "And her little 3-year-old got away from her and grabbed onto the bubblegum machine that was outside the store. Of course, it was made of glass. With the glass shattering voice, he yelled, 'Gimme, gimme!' So I told him I would give him what for if he didn't stop yelling and get into the car. I physically had to pry him off of that machine, and you know what happened. The machine came down and broke, and there were bubblegum bouncing all over the parking lot. By that time, a sizable crowd had gathered. So I told him that he would never see a cartoon as long as he lived, And if he didn't control his temper, that he would end up making license plates for the state. He tried to stifle his sobs as he looked around at the staring crowd of people. Then he did something that I was to remember for the rest of my life. In his helpless quest for comfort, he turned to the only one that he truly trusted with his emotions, and that was me, she says. He threw his arms around me and hung on for dear life. So she had humiliated him, berated him, chastised him, but still he ran to her. That incident, she says, defined her role as a mother and the force that she had as a mother in that child's life. You see, motherhood is demanding, it's infinitely important, and lifelong. When her children are grown and have children of their own, a mother is still a mother. One woman said, we must realize the importance of our examples in the development of our children's characters. We must realize that our children can see through the masks that we put on. Our inner thoughts and our attitudes will be revealed to our children by our actions and not just our words. And believe you me, they're watching your actions. Elements in our society today try to make a woman feel ashamed or feel lower because she's a stay-at-home mom and a wife. That mother and the wife that settled for a lower, less fulfilling calling than they are settling for one, instead compared to the woman who has a career outside the home. I want to say that there is no more noble calling than for a woman to be a mother and raise her children in the service of the Lord. Mothers bring us into this world, they nurture us, and sometimes even tell us they can take us back out of this world. But they care for us, they raise us up, they teach us, they discipline us, and they love us and cherish us regardless of who we are. So let's take a moment now and just look at a couple of mothers talked about in the Bible. When we think about mothers in the Bible, our thoughts often jump to certain perhaps more familiar or what we think are godly mothers. Mothers like Jochebed, the mother of Moses. She went against the Pharaoh's command, saved her child from certain death, and she even got the Pharaoh's daughter involved in raising Moses up. And to be the perfect man for God to deliver his people out of Egypt with. Think about that. Hannah, we think about her lots, who prayed for a child, and eventually God blessed her with a child. And she promised him in her prayer to him that she would give him back to the Lord, and she did exactly that she said she would. And she bore, her son's name was Samuel, one of the greatest prophets and leaders in all of Egypt. So bravo, Hannah, right? Job well done. Then there was Eunice and her grandmother Lois, who raised Timothy to be a God-fearing man. Their faith covered 3 generations, and Timothy became a faithful preacher and servant in the Lord's church. So we say, well done, women. You did a good job. Way to go, Mom. And who cannot talk about Mary, the mother of Jesus, who the Gospels talk about, and we've looked at them in some detail lately. So this morning, I just want to look at several mothers on not necessarily on this list that aren't mentioned as often. One is. Eve is well known, not just in Christianity, but by people all around, as the mother of humanity, in one sense. From her and Adam came the human race. Yet, as a mother, she is quite seldom talked about. Eve means living. So it actually means life. So Eve meaning life, but she sinned. I think that we can all show a little empathy for her, right? For her sin. I mean, we can understand that. She didn't know what to expect any more than any other mother. In fact, she was the first mother. She's the pioneer mother. and the pioneer childbearing mother, and experiencing multiplied pain, because of her sin. She had the first jealous son, who was also a murderer. She was the first mother to experience losing a loved child early in life. She didn't have a book to guide her, nor did she have a mother before her to guide her in raising up her children. Was she a bad mother because of Cain? Some would say that. Are you a bad mother because of choices that your children made? Think about that. You're not. She also had Abel and Seth, good boys, and there were many more. It is through the line of Seth, actually, that people began to call on the name of the Lord. Well, now she's a good mom, right? It just tells you a little bit about being a mom, right? She suffered dearly for her sin, but overall, like all of us sinners, she wasn't a bad mother. Another perhaps little-known mother was one of King Saul's concubines named Rizpah. 2 Samuel 21 begins with a famine in the land of Israel. God caused the famine because of King Saul and his prideful actions by overstepping the treaty between Israel and Gibeon. The Gibeonites, he destroyed a bunch of the Gibeonites, and they had a treaty not to do that. So David then asked the Gibeonites how he could make that situation right with them. And so they say, well, the way you can do that is we want to humiliate the family of Saul, so we want you to give us 7 men from the family of Saul, and we will kill them and bring shame on Saul's house. So David does that, and the famine is ended, but at a price. 2 of those men were the sons of Rizpah. Rizpah took sackcloth and spread it on the hillside where her sons' bodies were hung, and for 6 months she kept watch over their dead bodies, not allowing scavenger birds to feed on them, nor animals at night. Even in death, she protected them as much as possible. What drove Rizpah to do this? This to be there in that grotesque scene on the side of the hill? Well, it was the unbreakable love of a mother for her children. Her sons had no part in Saul's sin, but they paid the price for it nonetheless. Rizpah, however, is rewarded for her actions as a devoted mother. When David heard of her devotion, he had a change of heart, and he gave her sons an honorable burial in the tomb of their fathers. That is a devoted mother, a loving mother, a mother who sacrificed for her children. And then, of course, there's Mary, who is known better as the mother of Jesus, handpicked by God of heaven. Gabriel comes to her and he tells her that she is highly favored by God. And though she was never with a man, she would bear a son. The Holy Spirit would come upon her and she would be with child. And that child is destined for great things. It's going to accomplish great things. What was so special about this peasant girl in that place called Nazareth? A place, by the way, that the Jews thought nothing good could come from. Mary, first of all, was devoted to God. She had devoted her life to God. She was a godly woman, young woman. So it speaks, by God picking her, hand-picking her, it speaks somewhat to her character. When Jesus turned the water to wine, his mother was there, and he told her his time had not yet come. And what does she do? She simply turns and looks at the servants and says, do whatever he says. Right? We all know that, right? Mary was his mother, and in his early years and in his adult life, she had to witness the brutal, cruel treatment of the cross, but she also got to see his resurrection and the joy of the victory over death and ultimate eternal life. Her life was somewhat of a roller coaster, but I dare say that she wouldn't trade it for anything. In her heart, she cherished all of the events leading up to and during Jesus' life. Imagine the thoughts that would have been going through her mind. You know, the miracles, the things the angels said about him, all of these things as he's hanging on the cross. And she was there. But she endured all of that because she was a devoted, loving, and caring mother. Well, those are several biblical mothers that perhaps shed a little bit of light on being good mothers, remembering, of course, that they, like all of us, had their struggles. A man once observed a mother shopping with her small child riding in a shopping cart. And as she went through the fruit section, the child just kind of reached out and raked the oranges, and the oranges started falling on the floor. And so he heard the mother say, "Kathy, bear with me for a little while. We can do this, and then we'll get going," as she picked up all the oranges. This happened in a few aisles with different things. Things would end up strewn all over the aisle, and she would pick them up, and she would say, "Kathy, just hang in there for a while, and we will be done shopping." After that, it happened at the till once more, and the mother and her child were headed out the door to their car. And the man approached her, and he said to them, "Ma'am, I want to commend you on your patience in dealing with your child, Kathy." And the woman looked at him with a smile on her face, and she said, "Thank you, but my daughter's name is Sally. My name is Kathy, and Sally and I have some business to take care of shortly." You see, that's being a mother, right? She was about to administer some discipline that Sally needed when they got home. I have to say at this point, I cannot tell you how to be a good mother because I haven't even been a mediocre mother. I haven't been a mother. I don't know what it is to be a mother exactly. But we do have some guidance in God's Word that outlines some things that are a good mother. A good mother is selfless, and she protects her children. They will go through whatever it takes to protect them, just like Rizpah. A good mother is always there for her children in their darkest hour, just like Mary was with her firstborn. A good mother applies appropriate discipline to train the child up in the way that he or she should go, not with a mean spirit, but with a gentle spirit as an expression of love and concern for the child's welfare and their best. A good mother sets boundaries for her children because she understands that without boundaries, when a child is left to their own devices, it doesn't go well, and that child usually is ruined. It ruins the child, it hurts the child, and they end up being a hindrance in society instead of productive. That is not to mention that their spiritual relationship with their Creator God is also in danger. A good mother is consistent in teaching her children boundaries and considers situations and extenuating circumstances. They are reasonable, and somehow they usually get it age appropriate. We probably all have had mothers that could have easily given up on us. But mothers generally don't operate that way. They are in it for the long haul. They hang in there with us. It has been said that the love of a mother is stronger than steel, softer than down, and more resilient than a green sapling on a hillside. It closes wounds, it melts disappointments, it enables the weakest child to stand up straight and tall in the face of adversities. It prepares the child to face life with the proper perspectives and to live life to the fullest. Mother's Day is a day that we set aside to honor the women who have made an eternal difference in our lives. A mother's love, even at its best, is simply one of God's many expressions of love to us. A faint shadow, a reflection of what we can confidently expect from God, now and in the life to come. One of the most beautiful sights in this world is a mother who shows, who reflects God's great love for us, lets his love flow through her to her children, and being that loving blessing to them. She does this through her sacrifices, her tenderness of her touch, the consistency of her loving care and nurture. So to moms who have raised us, who have protected us, supported us, comforted us, instructed us in the ways of God and life, and stood by us through thick and thin, we all say here this morning, thank you for being my mother. Let's sing.